Today on the table I have the SP 2022 and the Walther Creed. You will see a price split of about $163. The 2022 being about $163 more than the Creed. The Creed is a lighter firearm. Length, they're virtually identical. Width, they're virtually identical. Height, the SIG is a touch taller with the pinky extended mag in it. Now if you were to run a flush base plate on this, you wouldn't sacrifice any capacity and it would make it a shorter firearm. Both have the same capacity, 15+1. Both also have accessory rails. Taking down the firearm, the Creed's pretty easy. Lock your slide to the rear. You don't even have to take the magazine out. Flip this lever down and your slide comes off. Very nice. 2022, I'm not a fan of it at all. It's weird, but you gotta push this through and then this lever comes out, you have an extra piece, and then you take your slide off. Don't like that. The Creed is a double action only, but the trigger brake is pretty decent. Your 2022, this is a single double without a safety, my favorite setup. What that means is, so like you'd load your firearm and you'd have your hammer back. Now you have a decocker right here, push this down, lets your hammer forward. So you have a really tough trigger brake with a lot of weight behind it. But there's no safety to worry about, and it's so heavy you couldn't accidentally set this off. You have to deliberately pull the trigger to set it off. So you'd carry it with your hammer down. Nice heavy trigger brake. Then after your first shot, the hammer gets cocked, or if you were to cock the hammer, nice light crisp trigger brake. Neither of these firearms have night sights. As a matter of fact, their sights are very similar. The only difference is the 2022 has a 90 on there, so you can hook it on your clothes or something and rack it. Your Walther Creed is curved, you could not do that. Trigger brake, SP 2022. Brake's pretty good, I don't see any movement in the front sight. That was the single action brake, now the double action brake. Very long, a lot of take up. Still pretty decent. Your reset. Pretty long, a lot longer than I'd like to see for a single action. And then you got some squish. And right there you can feel a wall. You can set right on it. A little bit more creep, and then your snap. Walther Creed. Brakes extremely well. Here's your reset. Right there. Some take up, a wall, a lot more creep. And then your snap. When the 2022 is in single action mode, I think it's very comparable to the Creed. They're not too far off. I would like to see a better trigger brake though on a single action mode. Just because this is a single double, why not? Double action mode, obviously it's much worse. Because you get options with this, this is the preferred trigger. This is the trigger I would prefer over these two. Your magazine release does appear to be reversible on both firearms. I'll see if I can find something on the internet and roll in for sure if that's a yes or for sure if it's a no. But it only really matters on the Creed because your 2022, all your controls are for a right-handed person. So you left-handed weirdos are screwed. This gun's just not going to work for you. Unless, of course, you can shoot right-handed, but then you'd be a right-handed person. So, you know, whatever. If you're left-handed, definitely go with the Creed. The overall styling of the firearms, I like the 2022 a lot better. They're basically similar in width. But because the 2022 is milled in like this, it gives the appearance of a skinnier firearm. It doesn't look so chunky like the Creed. I would like to see some front slide serrations on here, even though I'd never use them. I still like the styling of them. The controls, the texture on the grip is actually kind of aggressive. Your Walther Creed, very, very smooth. Now when you purchase the firearms, with the 2022, you get a pretty decent case. Hinged in the back exactly like I'd like to see it. You get an extra magazine, gun lock, range flag, your super awesome SIG sticker, and owner's manual. With your Creed, this case is just hinged in the back with folded plastic. So this eventually will wear out and snap. You can already start to see where the plastic's getting stressed, and this is brand new. Extra magazine, owner's manual, firearms lock, range flag. Now for me, these two firearms wouldn't be a carry gun. They're just too large. I can't stand carrying things on my body. I mean, yes, a cell phone firearm has a use, so I will, but I want to keep my firearm as small as possible. As a matter of fact, that was one of the huge deciding factors with giving up smoking and going to vaping. Much smaller. I mean, now I have a nicotine addiction to a flash drive, but you roll with the punches. So these would be like a nightstand gun, a tac vest gun, you know, an open carry, like holster firearm. You could conceal carry these, but I just wouldn't. It's too big for me. If you were to conceal carry it, this would be the one I'd recommend because it's a double single. Now your double singles do have a learning curve that's a bit steeper than, say, this one that has no safety, double action only. You would learn these controls faster, but in the end, because of the added options this would give you, you'd be better on this, just because of how it works. This does have a loaded flag. Now what would I pick out of these two if, you know, conceal carry's off the table? Not gonna happen. So we're left with tac vests, you know, nightstand guns, something like that. Neither of them have night sight, so they don't really have an advantage there, but you do have a tac rail so you can run a flashlight, which is important if it's going to be on your nightstand or something because you want to be able to identify your target in the dark. Tac vest gun, because this is a double single, this would be the one I would pick. Same with, you know, like off-body carry or just like holster open carry. Now if you're brand new into shooting, a double single may not be something you want to jump into. You might want to start with something a bit simpler, and then, you know, if you're into shooting a lot, then advance to a double single. That's where the Creed would come in. Plus, this is a much cheaper firearm, so if, let's say you buy this and you're like, okay, handguns aren't for me, or firearms aren't for me for whatever reason, I no longer want this anymore. The cheaper the firearm is, the better chance you have of getting close to your original paid price. You're going to lose a lot more selling this used than you would this. It's just the way it works. It's a lot easier to... Sorry, say I have a pack of gum that costed $1. It's easier for me to charge $2 for that, which is 100% markup. Now say I have a case of gum that costs $500. I might be able to get away with putting like 50 bucks, 25 bucks on there, but you just... People are more likely to pay a higher percentage when the whole entire cost is smaller, even though they're still paying 100%. Where like I couldn't charge $1,000 for that case of gum, it just don't work that way. So the cheaper your start cost is, the better chance you have of pulling some of your money back out of that firearm. So that is something to consider. Now the overall build quality, the SIG does feel much better, except for one point. The feed ramp isn't polished. I mean, you can do that yourself. The Walther Creed feed ramp does have a very nice polish on it. But just the overall, like, how it's constructed. Your recoil spring rod, I believe is what it's called, is plastic on the Creed. You're looking at a steel one on the SIG. But that's just my thoughts on it. Just to reiterate, this is what I'd pick as long as I have the cash. I don't see any reason why the Creed would be better unless, of course, you're new into firearms and you may not like the sport, or you just want something simpler to learn on. But thank you for watching. Leave in the comments below which one you would pick and why. Don't forget to subscribe.